What's going on, guys? Sharpshot here. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. So today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Evil Dead the game, which is a new 4v1 asymmetrical game based off of the Evil Dead franchise. And we're going to be looking at 5 things Evil Dead the game does better than DBD. For those of you guys that don't know what this game is about, like I said before, it's a 4v1 asymmetrical horror game based off of the Evil Dead franchise, whose main character is Ash, who is also a playable character in DBD. In this game, the survivors, including Ash and some of his comrades, fight against the demons like Henrietta and Eligos, where the survivors start off by looking for the Necronomicon and the Kandarian Dagger, and they use those in a final boss fight against the demons in order to try and kill them and win the game. All of the characters in this game come from all the different installments from the Evil Dead franchise, and this game is releasing very soon on May 13th. And the 6 things I'm going to be talking about in this video will help you get a better sense on how Evil Dead the game works and how it plays, and also how it compares to DBD, which is its main competitor in the asymmetrical horror genre. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first thing that stood out to me with this game over DBD is its quality graphics. All of the maps, characters, items, animations, the overall scenery and setting of the game look really realistic. It's colorful and vibrant, but also at the same time very dark and ominous, which allows you to feel a lot more immersed into the gameplay. As you can see with the gameplay, the graphics are really polished and high quality. It looks super clean, and it honestly probably has the best graphics that I've ever seen in any asymmetrical horror game. The second thing that's really cool about Evil Dead is the fact that there's a single player mode. This game was actually supposed to launch back in February with only a multiplayer 4v1 option in the game, but they decided to delay the game until now to add a single player missions game mode, which is kind of like the game's campaign paying homage to iconic scenes from Evil Dead. And on top of this, you can also play the multiplayer version of this game offline by yourself, which means you can hop into a custom games match and play alone against AI bots if you want to get better or practice the game, which is really cool and something that not a lot of asymmetrical horror games have. The third thing that's really cool about this game is the dynamic shift in the match. There's 3 action-packed phases that go on in one match. In the early game, the survivors start out by looting around the map and searching for map pieces that give information on where the Necronomicon and the Kandarian Dagger actually are. So it's kind of like the looting phase for the survivors, and while they do this, the demons start placing traps around the map and also try and look for the survivors. And the maps themselves are actually really big, so it'll be pretty tough to find the survivors at the start of the match as a demon. In the mid game, after the survivors have found all the map pieces, they then go out and find the Necronomicon and the dagger itself, and at the same time they continue looting and trying to gain better items than they had in the early game. And while the survivors do this, the killers will know the exact whereabouts of those survivors, and that's when the killer starts to try and contest the survivors and tries to fight them by engaging in fights with their deadites or little minions that they can possess, and also setting up traps around the survivors to try and disorient them. Finally, in the end game, this is kind of like the final boss fight phase, where the survivors use the 2 items they had gotten in the mid game and go to the battlegrounds where the dark ones are and try and beat them as well as the demon to try and eventually win the game. And all the while this happens, the killer is trying to fight them off and defend the dark ones. Coming in at number 4, there's actually more things to do on both sides of things, on survivor and demon. There's so much that both of these sides can and need to do in order to try and win the game. Survivors have so much to do. They can search around the huge map for tons of different items, weapons, ammo. They can drive around cars, they can set campfires to heal, and best of all, they can fight tons of different types of deadites and bosses and even fight the demon. Deadites are kind of like the level 1 peasants from any other game that are pretty easy to kill, but there's a ton of them around the map. And this is to say that in every phase of the game from start to finish, the survivors are going to have something to do, and they're always going to be in the action. You're never going to be in a downtime, kind of like working on a gen. Meanwhile, the killers also have a ton of things to do. They have to manage themselves and their giant army of deadites. They have to set these deadites around the map, and they can also set up various traps for themselves to use around the map as well. They're able to take possession of a bunch of different things like trees. They can drive cars and crash them into survivors, and they can even take possession of the survivors themselves if the survivors have enough fear, which as the demon you try and inflict on the survivors to try and get their fear meter up. Being that the map is huge, you're always going to be on the move, and there's never going to be any downtime as killer. It's going to be action packed from start to finish, just like the survivors. Coming in in at number 5 are the unique fighting mechanics. Killers aren't the only ones that can fight back. The survivors themselves also have a ton of weapons at their disposal to fight with, like ranged weapons and melee weapons. And they also have really unique finisher moves that look really, really cool. Killers also have a ton of different fighting mechanics. They don't just have to M1 or use an M2. Everything they possess will have a different way of fighting. So whether they possess a tree or drive cars or take possession of the deadites or the bigger deadites or the bosses, there's so many different ways to actually fight the survivors, and it makes it so it's a constantly new fight and it's really engaging. And not to mention that the movement around the map as the demon is really fluid as well. So yeah guys, that was a little bit about Evil Dead the game. My overall thoughts on this game are that it looks really fantastic and it's a really polished and high quality asymmetrical horror game that will definitely compete against DBD. But with that being said, it isn't perfect. There's actually two things that I think are kind of concerning for the game. The first thing is that this game is a lot more survivor sided, and in order for the killer to win, you're gonna have to be a lot better at the game and know a lot more about the game in order to actually win the match. So it'll definitely pose a bigger challenge for the killer, and the odds are definitely stacked against the killer, which might be a little discouraging starting out. The second thing is that this game is $40 at its base edition, which is extremely expensive, especially with the fact that DBD is half the price of it. It's gonna be pretty tough to get people to try this game out because it's hidden behind such a steep paywall. But outside of that, like I said, it looks like a really polished and high quality game. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying this game out myself. So yeah guys, those are the 5 things that Evil Dead does better than DBD. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about the Evil Dead game. I'd be really curious to hear your guys' opinion on it. So yeah guys, that's been the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you're new. This has been Sharpshot, and I will see you guys in the next video.